Every single person on this planet wakes up each morning with the same gift: 24 hours. Not a second more, not a second less. The wealthiest billionaire, the struggling student, the top athlete, and the person trying to figure out where to begin. They all start their day with the exact same allotment of time. Time is the one resource that life distributes equally to all. You can be born into privilege or into poverty, but when the clock strikes midnight, your new day holds the same 440 minutes as everyone else's. The question is never about how much time you have. The question is always about what you decide to do with it. Some people look at their 24 hours and treat them casually, almost carelessly, as if there will always be another set of hours tomorrow to make up for what they wasted today. But the reality is, once a day is gone, it's gone forever. You can't buy it back. You can't negotiate with it. Time doesn't care about excuses, feelings, or circumstances. It just keeps moving forward. And those who achieve success understand this truth deep in their bones. They value their hours like a rare jewel because they know the difference between someone who wins in life and someone who barely moves forward isn't luck. It's the way they use this shared resource. If you study people who are successful in their careers, in business, in sports, in relationships, or in any meaningful area of life, you will notice they treat their time with intention. They don't wander through the day hoping something productive will happen. They plan, they prioritize, and they protect their hours from being stolen by meaningless distractions. They view time as an investment, not something to spend loosely. Each moment is an opportunity to learn, grow, create, or take one step closer to a goal. Contrast that with those who find themselves stuck year after year. Often, it's not that they are less intelligent, less talented, or less capable. It's that they treat time as if it were infinite. They wake up without a plan. They let the hours slip away in trivial activities, mindless entertainment, or unproductive conversations. They convince themselves they're too busy, when in reality they're busy with the wrong things. And here's the truth. Being busy is not the same as being productive. Success isn't about filling your day, it's about filling your day with what matters. You see, the successful person understands that every hour is a decision. When you choose to do one thing, you automatically choose not to do something else. If you spend an hour watching a show you don't even care about, that's an hour you could have spent improving your skills, building relationship, taking care of your health, or working on your dream. The wealthy entrepreneur doesn't have more hours than the person struggling to pay rent. They simply choose to invest their hours into activities that create results instead of just passing time. Think about it like this: time is a bank account that refills every morning with exactly 86,400 seconds. The balance will always reset to zero at the end of the day, whether you use them well or not. You can't save them for later. You can only decide whether to spend them on things that grow you or things that keep you standing still. This is why people who reach their goals tend to guard their time as fiercely as they would guard their most valuable possessions. They know that in reality, time is their most valuable possession. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a job and get a new one. But once time is gone, it's gone for good. And here's something else. They don't allow others to waste it for them. They set boundaries. They learn to say no to invitations, projects, and commitments that don't align with their vision. This is not because they're rude or selfish, but because they understand that saying yes to the wrong things is saying no to the right ones. They'd rather disappoint someone else temporarily than disappoint themselves permanently. There is also an awareness among successful people that time compounds. Just like money earns interest, how you use your hours builds upon itself. An hour spent reading today doesn't just give you knowledge in that moment. It makes you smarter for tomorrow. An hour spent exercising doesn't just improve your health for the day, it builds strength and energy for years to come. And an hour wasted doesn't just cost you that hour, it weakens your habit of discipline, making it easier to waste the next one. Now, you may think, but they have resources I don't. That may be true in some ways, but those resources were often built because they first learned to master their time. Before they had the team, the money, the recognition, they had the same 24 hours and a choice about how to use them. Most started with nothing but determination and discipline. And that's the point. Time is the one starting point we all share. Every day you wake up, you are given a fresh opportunity to use your hours better than you did yesterday. You can decide that today you'll spend more time on your health, on your relationships, on your craft, on your business. You can decide that today you'll cut down on the distractions, the mindless scrolling, the procrastination. You can't control how much time you have in a lifetime, but you can absolutely control how much life you put into your time. The truth is, life is built out of days, and days are built out of hours. If you want to change your life, change the way you treat your hours, stop waiting for more time to appear. It won't. The people you admire, the ones who've achieved great things, are not magicians who somehow have longer days. They're ordinary people who made extraordinary use of their 24 hours. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I don't have enough time, remember, you have exactly the same amount as the people who are doing the things you wish you could do. The real difference is in the choice, and the choice is always yours. Most people spend their lives waiting. They wait for the right season, the perfect circumstances, the better time that always seems to be just around the corner. They convince themselves that when things settle down, when they have more money, when they feel more confident, when they get that one opportunity, then they'll finally take action. But here's the truth. Perfect conditions do not exist. The stars will never align in some magical way that guarantees success. Those who accomplish great things understand this. They start where they are, with what they have, and they move forward despite the imperfections around them. Waiting feels comfortable because it gives us the illusion of control. We think we're being smart, strategic, or cautious. We tell ourselves we're avoiding mistakes by waiting for the ideal moment. In reality, what we're avoiding is the discomfort of beginning. We're avoiding the possibility of failing. But by waiting, we're also avoiding the possibility of winning. Every day you delay action is another day you lose. Time doesn't freeze because you're not ready. While you wait for your better time, someone else out there is starting with less than you have, making mistakes, learning, and moving closer to their goals. Those who succeed don't operate under the illusion that they'll start when everything feels perfect. They know that action creates clarity, not the other way around. You don't wait for confidence to begin, you gain confidence by beginning. You don't wait for all the resources before starting a project, you start and find resources along the way. The most successful people often began in moments of uncertainty with limited tools and imperfect plans. What separated them from everyone else wasn't luck. It was their refusal to let the lack of perfect conditions become an excuse. Think about this, the world is full of people with great ideas, dreams, and talents that never see the light of day because they're stuck in the waiting stage. They want the timing to be flawless. They want every skill to be mastered before they even begin. But the truth is, mastery comes from doing, not from waiting to do. Every expert was once a beginner who decided to take that first imperfect step. They didn't start because they were ready. They became ready because they started. Fear plays a big role in the tendency to wait. It whispers, what if you fail? What if you're not good enough? What if it's not the right time? But fear doesn't go away with more time. It grows. The longer you wait, the heavier the weight of inaction becomes. Opportunities have a shelf life. That job offer won't always be there. That market trend won't always last. That burst of inspiration won't always stay fresh. If you don't move when the window is open, it will eventually close. And when it does, all the perfect conditions you were hoping for will be irrelevant. Successful people also understand that starting before you're ready forces you to grow faster. When you take action, you put yourself in situations that require you to learn, adapt, and stretch beyond your comfort zone. You figure things out because you have to. The pressure becomes a teacher. Many people waste months or years preparing for every possible scenario, only to find that real life throws them challenges they never anticipated. Action in the real world teaches you lessons that no amount of planning can match. And there's another truth, conditions often improve because you started, not before you started. The moment you move, you create momentum. You meet people you wouldn't have met, you discover opportunities you couldn't have seen from the sidelines, and you build skills that make future steps easier. The path clears as you walk it, not before. Starting now doesn't mean you act recklessly. It means you take the next step you can take with the resources you have right now. Maybe you can't launch the full version of your business yet, but you can start learning the skills, building the network, or selling on a smaller scale. Maybe you can't run a marathon today, but you can start running 1 mile and build from there. The important thing is to create movement. Movement generates progress, and progress builds belief. If you look closely at the stories of people who made it big, you'll often find that their beginnings were messy. They launched products that weren't perfect. They performed when they weren't fully confident. They released content that wasn't polished. And yet, those rough beginnings laid the foundation for their eventual mastery. You will never eliminate imperfection from your first step, but you can guarantee failure by never taking it. There's also a subtle danger in waiting for perfect timing. Life will give you reasons to keep waiting. Just when you think you're ready, something else will pop up. A new responsibility, a new problem, another reason to postpone. If you don't learn to move despite the obstacles, you'll live your life in a constant loop of almost ready until your chances are gone. The people who succeed aren't the ones who had fewer challenges. They're the ones who refuse to let challenges dictate their start. When you strip it down, the difference between those who have what they want and those who don't often comes down to one thing: the willingness to start imperfectly. Every great book could have been delayed for years waiting for the perfect idea. Every business could have stayed a someday dream. Every achievement could have been buried under endless preparation. But someone decided that today was the day, flaws and all. The moment you stop waiting for perfect conditions, you take control of your life. You stop letting circumstances dictate your actions, and you start shaping your circumstances with your actions. You understand that progress beats perfection every single time, because a slightly flawed effort today will always beat the flawless plan that never leaves your head. So the next time you catch yourself saying, "I'll start when," cut yourself off. Replace it with, "I'll start now, and I'll figure it out along the way." That's how real progress happens. That's how dreams turn into reality. Not by waiting for the right time, but by making the time you have right now the right time. Every day presents you with countless options, but the truth is you can't do everything. Life is a constant series of trade-offs. When you say yes to one thing, you automatically say no to something else. That's why the most successful people operate by one powerful principle: they focus on priorities. They understand that not every task, opportunity, or demand deserves their attention. Their time and energy are too valuable to scatter in every direction. They choose carefully, and they put their best effort into what matters most. Most people fall into the trap of trying to do it all. They fill their schedules to the brim, running from one task to the next, convincing themselves they're being productive. But business is not the same as progress. You can be busy for 12 hours a day and end up no closer to your goals. You can answer hundreds of emails, attend meetings, run errands, and still feel empty at the end of the day because you spent your hours on things that didn't really move the needle. Without priorities, your time gets hijacked by whatever is loudest, most urgent, or most convenient. The difference between a life of achievement and a life of constant frustration is the ability to distinguish between what's important and what's merely urgent. Important tasks move you toward your vision. Urgent tasks often only make you feel like you're doing something, but they rarely create lasting impact. Successful people have learned to protect their important work from the noise of urgency. They build their days around high-value activities, the few things that produce the greatest results. Focusing on priorities means saying no more often than you say yes. That's not easy because every invitation, every request, and every idea has the potential to feel important in the moment. You might be afraid of missing out, disappointing others, or passing up an opportunity. But here's the reality: every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your top priorities, you are saying no to the things that do. And over time, those small detours add up to years of misdirected effort. Those who achieve great results make deliberate choices about their mornings, their peak energy hours, and their mental focus. They don't waste their best time on tasks that could be delegated, automated, or ignored. They use their clearest, most focused hours to work on their most important goals. If they have a vision to write a book, build a business, or create a product, they dedicate the first and best part of their day to it instead of squeezing it in between distractions. It's not just about time, it's also about energy. Even if you technically have hours available, you might not have the mental clarity to use them effectively. That's why successful people prioritize not just their schedule, but also their health, rest, and mindset. They know that without physical energy and mental sharpness, even the most important work will suffer. They guard against burnout by keeping their priorities clear and avoiding overcommitment. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is asking yourself, what is the single most important thing I can do right now that will have the greatest impact? That question cuts through the clutter. It forces you to evaluate your tasks and choose the ones that matter most. Successful people ask this question repeatedly throughout the day, adjusting their focus to match their highest priorities. It's also worth noting that priorities are deeply personal. What matters most to you may not matter at all to someone else. That's why you can't let other people's expectations dictate your schedule. You have to decide for yourself what truly matters and then commit to it fully. Otherwise, you'll end up living someone else's version of a meaningful life instead of your own. Many people underestimate how much of their day is stolen by small, low-value activities. Checking social media for a minute turns into 30. Responding instantly to every message breaks focus and wastes mental energy. Saying yes to a meeting with no clear agenda can cost an entire afternoon. These may seem harmless in isolation, but over time they erode the hours you could have spent building something meaningful. Successful people are ruthless about cutting these time thieves out of their lives. They also understand that focusing on priorities requires constant realignment. Life changes, goals evolve, and circumstances shift. That's why they review their goals regularly and adjust their daily actions accordingly. They don't cling to outdated priorities just because they were once important. They ask themselves, does this still move me toward my vision? If the answer is no, they drop it no matter how much time or energy they've already invested. Another important aspect of focusing on priorities is protecting deep work. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. This is where the real breakthroughs happen, the kind of work that creates value far beyond the hours spent. But deep work is impossible if your attention is constantly fractured. That's why successful people set boundaries, turn off notifications, and create environments that support concentration. They understand that if they allow their focus to be pulled in 100 directions, they'll never produce their best work. Finally, focusing on priorities requires discipline. It's easy to know what matters. It's harder to consistently choose it over the comfortable, the familiar, or the easy. Discipline means showing up for your priorities even when you don't feel like it, even when it would be easier to procrastinate or distract yourself. Successful people don't rely solely on motivation because they know motivation comes and goes. They build habits and systems that keep them aligned with their priorities, no matter what. At the end of the day, success is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most consistently over time. When you focus on priorities, you take control of your life. You stop reacting to everything that comes your way, and you start shaping your days with intention. You realize that every hour you spend is either moving you closer to your vision or pulling you away from it, and you choose again and again to move closer. Small daily investments have the power to transform your life in ways that seem almost impossible when you first begin. The truth is, success is rarely built on one massive breakthrough. More often, it's the result of consistent, deliberate actions repeated over time. These actions may seem small in the moment, so small that they feel almost insignificant, but their power lies in their ability to compound. Just like money grows with interest, your efforts grow with time, creating results far greater than the sum of your individual actions. Think about learning a new skill. If you commit just 1 hour a day to practicing, that's 365 hours in a year. At first, an hour doesn't seem like much. You might feel like progress is too slow or barely noticeable. But day after day, that hour begins to add up. You start understanding concepts that once confused you. Tasks that once felt impossible become second nature. And before you know it, you've developed a skill set that most people only dream about simply because you chose to invest a little time every day. The same is true for fitness. If you exercise for just 30 minutes a day, it may not feel like much at first. In fact, in the first week or two, you might barely notice a difference. But the body responds to consistency. Those small, daily sessions build strength, endurance, and health that you can't achieve through occasional bursts of effort. You can't cram a year's worth of workouts into one weekend, just as you can't cram a year's worth of progress into one desperate push. The power comes from repetition, from showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. The problem for most people is that small investments are easy to ignore. Skipping one workout, one study session, one productive hour feels harmless. After all, it's just one day. But habits work in both directions. Every time you choose not to invest in your growth, you strengthen the habit of inaction. And just like good habits compound into success, bad habits compound into regret. The effects may not show immediately, but they will show eventually. This is why successful people are so intentional about their daily actions. They don't underestimate the value of the small things. They know that greatness is built in the quiet, ordinary hours when no one is watching. They understand that if they can stay committed to small, consistent improvements, those improvements will multiply over time and produce extraordinary results. It's also important to recognize that compounding works best when you start early. The earlier you begin making small investments in yourself, the more time those investments have to grow. But it's never too late to start. Even if you feel like you've wasted years, the best thing you can do for your future is to start today. 10 years from now, you'll wish you had. Another reason small daily investments are so powerful is that they build momentum. When you commit to doing something every day, it becomes part of your identity. You stop questioning whether you'll do it and simply accept it as part of who you are. This eliminates the constant mental debate about whether to act or procrastinate. Over time, you begin to see yourself differently. You're no longer someone who wishes they were disciplined. You are disciplined. You're no longer someone who wants to achieve. You are achieving every day. Consistency also builds trust with yourself. Every time you follow through on a small daily commitment, you prove to yourself that you can be relied upon. This self-trust is incredibly valuable because it allows you to take on bigger challenges with confidence. You've built a track record of showing up, so you believe in your ability to keep going even when things get difficult. Some people resist the idea of small investments because they want fast results. They want to lose all the weight in a month, become fluent in a language in a few weeks, or double their income overnight. But impatience is the enemy of compounding. Big, sudden changes rarely last because they're not built on the foundation of steady habits. Small, consistent efforts may feel slow, but they create results that stick. They give you time to adjust, adapt, and grow into the person capable of sustaining the success you're building. There's also a psychological advantage to starting small. You remove the excuse of, "I don't have time." Almost anyone can find 20 or 30 minutes a day for something important. The key is to start with what you can do now and build from there. As your consistency grows, so does your capacity. That 20 minutes may eventually become an hour, then 2 hours, and the results will multiply even faster. It's worth mentioning that small daily investments don't just apply to personal goals. Relationships grow the same way. A few minutes of genuine attention to your loved ones each day strengthens the bond over time. Financial wealth works the same way. Small, regular savings and investments can grow into substantial sums through the power of compounding. Every area of life responds to this principle because it's rooted in something universal. Consistent effort creates growth. The challenge is to stay patient and committed long enough to see the results. In the early stages, the payoff may feel invisible. You're planting seeds, but nothing has broken through the soil yet. This is where most people quit. They mistake the lack of visible results for the lack of progress. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. Growth is taking place beneath the surface, and one day it will become obvious to everyone. Small daily investments require faith, faith in the process, faith in yourself, and faith in the principle that effort compounds over time. That faith is built by experience. The more you see the results of your own consistency, the easier it becomes to trust the process. And when you truly embrace this way of living, you stop chasing quick fixes. You start playing the long game. The long game is where real success lies. The person who commits to improving by just 1% every day will end the year more than 37 times better than when they started. That's the magic of compounding, tiny, consistent actions transforming into massive, life-changing results. So the question isn't whether you can make one huge leap toward your goals. It's whether you can make a small step every day without fail. Because those small steps taken consistently will take you further than you ever imagined. The life you are living right now is the direct result of the habits you have built over time. Every choice you make, every routine you follow, every small action you take day after day is shaping the person you are becoming. This is why the way you spend your hours today will determine where you are in 5 years. You don't create your future in a single moment of inspiration. You create it in the quiet, repetitive moments of daily living. Habits are the invisible architecture of your life. They are the systems that run in the background, often without conscious thought, guiding the direction of your days and ultimately your destiny. Habits work like compound interest. The results may not be obvious at first, but over time they grow and multiply. If your daily habits push you forward, the effect is powerful and life-changing. If they hold you back, the damage is equally powerful, but far more dangerous because it happens slowly. You don't notice the harm until it's deeply ingrained. That's why so many people look up after years and wonder how they ended up where they are. The answer is always the same. They arrived there one habit at a time. Consider the person who reads for 30 minutes every morning. At first, it doesn't look like much. One book, maybe 2 in a month. But over 5 years, they've read dozens, maybe hundreds of books. they've expanded their knowledge, sharpened their thinking, and exposed themselves to new ideas. Compare that to the person who spends the same 30 minutes scrolling mindlessly through their phone. Over 5 years, the gap between these two people's knowledge, mindset, and opportunities is enormous, and it all began with a simple habit. The same is true for physical health. A habit of regular exercise, balanced nutrition, and enough sleep may not transform your body in a week, but over years, it creates strength, energy, and vitality. On the other hand, poor eating habits, a sedentary lifestyle, and neglecting rest slowly wear down your health. By the time you notice the damage, years of consistent neglect have already taken their toll. What makes habits so powerful is that they run automatically. You don't have to force yourself to think about them every day. Once a habit is formed, it becomes your default behavior, saving you mental energy but also locking in certain outcomes. That's why building good habits early and replacing bad ones as quickly as possible is one of the smartest investments you can make in your life. The danger is that habits feel harmless in the moment. Eating an unhealthy meal once doesn't ruin your health. Skipping a workout once doesn't destroy your fitness. Procrastinating for a day doesn't ruin your career. But those actions, repeated consistently, build momentum in the wrong direction. By the time the consequences are visible, it's often much harder to reverse them. Successful people understand this, so they measure habits not by the effect they have today, but by the effect they will have if repeated for years. They ask themselves, if I lived every day like I did today, what kind of life would I have in 5 years? That question forces you to zoom out and think long term. If your daily habits are aligned with your goals, the answer will excite you. If they aren't, the answer will serve as a wake-up call. Your habits also shape your identity. Every time you follow through on a habit, you cast a vote for the kind of person you believe yourself to be. Going for a run is not just about exercise, it's a vote for being a healthy, disciplined person. Reading daily is not just about gaining information. It's a vote for being a lifelong learner. Skipping your commitments is not just about a lost opportunity. It's a vote for being someone who breaks promises to themselves. Over time, these votes add up and create a self-image that is either empowering or limiting. Another key truth about habits is that they influence your environment and the people you attract. If you develop habits of discipline, focus, and integrity, you naturally draw opportunities and relationships that align with those qualities. If your habits are sloppy, inconsistent, and unfocused, you attract situations and people who mirror those same patterns. Your external life is a reflection of your internal discipline. The good news is you can change your habits at any time. It won't happen overnight, but it can happen faster than you think if you commit to small, sustainable changes. Start by identifying one habit that, if improved, would have the biggest impact on your future. Work on it until it becomes part of your daily rhythm, then move to the next. Over time, these small adjustments will compound into massive transformation. It's important to remember that bad habits are easier to maintain because they often provide immediate gratification. Junk food tastes good. Skipping the gym feels comfortable. Procrastinating gives instant relief from stress. Good habits, on the other hand, often require short-term discomfort for long-term gain. That's why discipline is the bridge between the life you have and the life you want. You have to be willing to trade momentary ease for lasting reward. 5 years will pass whether you change your habits or not. The question is, who will you be when those 5 years are over? Will you be stronger, wiser, and closer to your dreams because you built habits that pulled you forward? Or will you be stuck in the same place, or worse, because you let destructive habits rule your days? The answer will depend entirely on the choices you make right now in the small, seemingly insignificant moments that make up your life. Every day, you are building your future through your habits. Every morning routine, every evening choice, every repeated action is either a step toward the person you want to become or a step away from them. If you take control of your habits, you take control of your future. And if you ignore them, your future will take control of you. The life you're living today is the sum of the habits you've built over the past years. The life you'll live 5 years from now will be the sum of the habits you start building today. There's no escaping this truth. That's why the most important thing you can do for yourself right now is to make sure that the way you're spending your hours each day reflects the kind of future you want to create. Time is one of the most valuable resources you will ever have, and yet it is also the easiest to waste. Once a moment is gone, it can never be recovered. You can earn more money, replace possessions, and rebuild a career, but you cannot buy back even a single second that has passed. That's why successful people treat their time like treasure. They guard it carefully, spend it wisely, and refuse to let it slip away on things that don't serve their vision. They understand that every hour has the potential to create progress, growth, and opportunity, or to vanish into nothing. Many people live as though their time is unlimited, giving it away to anyone and anything without thinking. They spend hours on activities that bring no real value, scrolling endlessly, watching mindless entertainment, getting caught up in gossip, or saying yes to commitments they don't truly care about. The danger is that these small wastes of time feel harmless in the moment. An hour here, a half hour there, it doesn't seem like much, but added together they consume huge portions of life. The people who never seem to make progress are often those who have failed to protect their most precious resource. Guarding your time begins with understanding its true worth. If you saw each hour as a gold coin, you would be far more careful about how you spent it. You wouldn't hand out coins to strangers or throw them away on things that gave you nothing in return. Yet when it comes to time, people often do exactly that. They allow their days to be interrupted by distractions, pulled in every direction by other people's priorities, and drained by activities that bring no lasting benefit. Successful people take the opposite approach. They are intentional. They decide in advance how their hours will be used, and they defend those decisions fiercely. This doesn't mean they never relax or enjoy themselves. It means they choose consciously when and how to do so. Rest is valuable when it's deliberate. It becomes wasteful when it's simply the default because you're avoiding work or allowing boredom to take over. Guarding your time is about making sure that both your work and your leisure serve a purpose, whether that purpose is building your career, improving your health, deepening your relationships, or simply recharging your mind and body for the challenges ahead. One of the biggest threats to your time is distraction. In the modern world, there is no shortage of things fighting for your attention. Social media platforms are designed to keep you scrolling. News outlets compete for your outrage. Advertisements follow you everywhere. Without strong boundaries, you can lose hours every day to meaningless consumption without even realizing it. Successful people counter this by creating clear rules for themselves. They limit how often they check their phone, set time blocks for focused work, and eliminate as many unnecessary interruptions as possible. They understand that every time their attention is stolen, it takes more than just a few seconds. It takes mental energy and focus away from their real priorities. Guarding your time also means learning to say no. Every request for your time, whether it's a meeting, a favor, or a social event, comes with an opportunity cost. If you say yes to something unimportant, you are saying no to something important, often without realizing it. Many people struggle with this because they don't want to disappoint others. But the truth is, you cannot please everyone and still live a meaningful life. Saying no to the wrong things is what allows you to say yes to the right ones. Another key to protecting your time is recognizing the difference between being busy and being productive. You can fill your calendar with tasks and still accomplish very little if those tasks aren't connected to your goals. Successful people measure their days not by how much they did, but by how much they moved forward. They focus on high-value activities that create real results, and they are quick to cut out or delegate anything that doesn't meet that standard. You also have to guard your mental space. Time isn't just measured in hours, it's measured in the quality of your focus. If you're constantly switching between tasks or carrying mental clutter from one activity to another, you're not truly using your time well. Successful people often create rituals to protect their focus, such as starting the day with planning and reflection, taking short breaks to recharge, and ending the day by reviewing progress. These rituals help them get the most value out of each hour, instead of letting it blur into the next. Guarding your time requires a long-term perspective. You have to think beyond the moment and ask yourself, if I keep spending my time like this, where will I be in 5 years? That question alone can reveal how much of your life is being consumed by things that don't matter. When you see time as the building material of your future, you become far more careful about where it goes. It's worth noting that time is not just for achieving. It's also for living. Guarding your time doesn't mean filling every minute with work. It means choosing deliberately how to invest your moments, whether in your business, your health, your family, or your passions. Some of the most valuable hours you will ever spend are those invested in the people you love and the experiences that bring you joy. The key is that they are chosen, not simply fallen into out of habit or convenience. At the end of your life, you will look back and realize that your time was your true wealth. The memories you made, the relationships you built, the work you created, all of it came from how you chose to spend your hours. If you guarded them well, you'll have a life rich with meaning and accomplishment. If you let them slip away carelessly, you'll be left with the regret of knowing you had the same 24 hours as everyone else, but didn't use them to their fullest. That's why it's so important to treat your time like the treasure it is. Protect it from thieves, whether those thieves are distractions, unimportant tasks, or other people's agendas. Spend it only on what truly matters to you. Invest it in the things that bring you closer to the life you want to live. Because in the end, your days are your life, and how you guard them will determine the story you get to tell